Oh, yeah, and it is time for Bush Talk Brazil with our good friend Giuliano. And speaking of him, how you doing, Giuliano?
Hey, Rich, how are you doing, brother? I'm doing fine.
I'm doing well. How's it going down there today?
Cool, it's cool. It's actually a warm day here in Brazil, as per usual, at this time of the year. And we actually, in the place where I live here, it's kind of rainy, so it's not too hot.
All
This
right.
is one aspect I like about the season. Because of the rain, it doesn't get actually very hot, so the weather is rather mild here, I can say that.
Very cool. Let me bring you in here on the camera real quick.
All right.
See if we can bring you up. There he is. All righty. So it's a little cool down there for you, not too bad though, right?
It's not that it is cool actually, but it's not too hot. Which, for example, like last year was a very unusual year because it didn't rain as it usually does, as much as it usually does at this time of the year, and it happened in quite a large portion of the country. I went to Ilha Grande, which is an island in Rio, and they were having a drought problem there too, lack of water. And it was one interesting aspect regarding Christmas, the Christmas weeks here. It's because for us, what marks and defines Christmas is the rain. So if it doesn't rain, it's like it's not Christmas time, at least for us down here in Minas, in Belo. And last year it was a very unusual year because we didn't have the rain. This year, though, the rain has already arrived and everything looks normal.
So,
Thank God.
so you don't get the snow for Christmas. Santa Claus wears a wetsuit. That's what you're telling me, huh?
No. Santa Claus down here needs to wear a raincoat, umbrella, and better get ready for the rain.
There you go. Very cool. Very cool. No, different places, different things. I mean, I imagine St. Nicholas over in some of the desert part would probably pass out from wearing the heavy clothes he's supposed to wear over there, right? So yeah.
I think they would have a problem, where to hang their socks, like a fireplace somewhere in Arizona.
Yeah, stuff like that. Oh yeah. So what do you got for me tonight now?
All right, brother. Actually, tonight we are gonna talk about the gear necessary for the tropical areas you got down here in Brazil. I just wanted to warm up people's memory. In the previous weeks, we discussed about the tropical forest, the tropical areas that we have here in Brazil, which can be defined as three areas. The Amazon area is the biggest northern portion. We have the Pantanal, which is like a swamp area, and we have the Atlantic forest that follows down the Atlantic coast of Brazil all the way from the northeastern tip down to the south part of Brazil. Those areas pretty much help to define the image that people have of Brazil abroad, like the tropical area country, the tropical forest country, and the big misconception, I can say, is that, as we already pointed out, people tended to think of Brazil as the Amazon, as a big, Amazon forest all around.
Well, I'm looking at a picture of you here now, sitting on your bush bed. That looks kind of Amazonian to me, but no, it's actually the trees there look more like they do up here, deciduous trees.
Yeah, two things though. First, I cannot see my pictures. I don't know if I have to do something. I can't. What I see, it's the.
Why don't you if you're in the chat room, the picture on there. Why don't you what do I want to say? Redo the chat room. Push the button and come back on the
got it there now. Yes, yeah.
So I've got a picture of you on the bush bed.
That's right.
What
You said
picture's
it
up?
looks like the Amazon forest to you, right?
No, actually, to me, that looks more like a deciduous forest that you're in there on the bush bed with the types of trees in that area. But then I see the palm kind of leaves up on top, or the larger leaves that I don't have here in my kind of forest. So it looks like a combination of the two.
Yeah.
And people should understand that it's not going to be all. There's going to be some things I recognize there, and some things that are going to be there as opposed to other things that I don't have. I mean, I imagine up the road you're probably going to find a very large palm of some kind, but then also you may have I don't know if you're going to have oak trees down there or some kind of tree like that, whatever kind of deciduous trees you have in that area.
Uh-huh. Yeah, the point regarding that picture is it's not the Atlantic forest either. Neither it is the pure Cerrado area. It is, let's say, another biome within the Cerrado. And this picture actually doesn't show it too much, but this is one of the few places I got here in my area where I actually get a little feeling of what it must feel like to be in one of the bush areas you have there in the States or either in Europe. Even Mac, when he went there, when he first camped there, he told me that the place resembled some of the areas that he had been to in Pennsylvania. And because it's not like the choke, I got some other pictures there where people will clearly see it. There are some other areas where they are completely choked with bush and trees and underbrush and that kind of stuff, and you really gotta use a machete or walk through along the trail.
But there you could have, there with the size of that tree that your bush bed's up against, that's an axe tree. That's the kind of tree you'd take an axe to if you really had to cut it down. That's a good sized tree. I mean, and
you have a lot of work trying to knock that tree down because that's a big jatobá tree. So it's a big, big tree. And I'll tell you that this is one of the few places where you can actually walk, and see the trees. There's plenty of space and area in between the trees, so you can actually sit down. You don't really, seriously, Rich, that area is one of the few places where I have never, ever seen a snake. Never.
There you go.
Yeah, it is awesome. We do got some other spiders and a little, not scorpions there actually, but we do got some ants. This year I was camping there in the winter, which is July here for us, and I woke up in the morning and I was sitting near the fire, and I had cleaned the air because it doesn't rain, so all the leaves were dry, and I was trying to avoid some accident with the fire. And all of a sudden, I saw this little cockroach, or either a cockroach or a cricket, moving, from the leaves that were, away into the clean spot. And I thought, man, that's very unusual for a bug to do that because they actually look for the cover of the ground leaves for protection and everything. Then I got another bug, and then another one, like crickets and cockroaches and all on the whole shebang. Then I thought either they became very interested in bushcraft because I was carving me like a bull, or there's something going on, which I knew was probably the right reason, and I went out to check it out. And dude, I literally saw the ground moving. There was this black carpet. This is the only way I can define it. It was like a black carpet moving, up the hill. I actually got a video in English on my channel that shows that. It's one of the few videos that I have posted recently, and it is awesome because you can hear the ground moving.
And was it the ants or the roaches or what was it?
Ants. This is
ants. The roaches were running from the ants.
Not only the roaches, Rich,
everything.
I mean, humans. If there were anybody crazy enough to be there, like I saw, actually that thing happened twice.
Right.
The first day, actually on the first day it took place, it happened in the afternoon, and on the second day it was early in the morning. But I remember that on the first day I saw this big spider, which is the Armadillo spider. It is very poisonous spider. This is one of the most dangerous ones you're gonna find here in my area. They attack you, they can kill you, really bad guys. I saw the ants, flush one out of its hole, and it was literally rolling on the ground trying to fight off the little ants, and of course it was done because nothing survives. Every single bug, everything alive that's got legs or can either move away, fly, jump, crawl, I mean, it will not stay put. This is what happens, and they move from a place to the other. I was lucky enough not to have any problems with ants crawling up my bush bed or my hammock or the trees where I was hanging my stuff, but I was really like tense for a few minutes, like trying to figure out which direction and which way and what. They came really close to where I was, but not, exactly where I was. Thank God. And if they did, and if they had, decided to come for me, there was nothing. I could have tried to chop off the lashings that held my hammock, pack everything inside my hammock, turn it into like a back sack, and try to get the heck out of there as soon as I could, because there wasn't much I could possibly do if they came for me, seriously. But this is one of the things that have actually to do with our talk tonight.
Okay.
Because many times, Rich, people from abroad, either students that come to train down here with me, or YouTube friends, they usually ask me what kind of gear do I use here, or if they decided to come pay us a visit and go for some bushcraft training,
and we got a picture of you here in your camouflage up here with I guess it's a hammock.
That's right, and that's the Brazilian Army camouflage.
I know when you go out there being tough with Mac, you guys just run around naked because you're that kind of guys.
No, come on.
Yeah, no. He's that tough, people. They ask him what he uses. He uses nothing. His bare hands, his teeth, and he runs through the woods naked.
I'm a disciple of Cody Landine. Is that what you're saying? Kind of.
Yeah. Well, no. Even rougher than Cody. Yeah. No.
Seriously, this is something interesting, because then they're going to say, "Come on, dude, the Indians walked pretty much half naked in the jungle, and they didn't have machetes or any metal blades for quite a long time. How did they get by? How did they do it? How did they manage to survive and develop and flourish whole civilizations all that time without metal blades, machetes, and these traditional gears that we use?" I'll answer you that.
I'll tell you. Let me tell you how they did it. I know exactly how they did it.
Yeah, how?
They suffered. That's how they did it.
Well, it depends on exactly. Well, there are some myths and misconceptions regarding primitive people and Indian tribes and all that. You look at the pictures and you see these guys half naked and walking bare feet in the jungle, and because they actually know the places, they know the areas, their eyes are trained. This is something we have to understand, and this is the point of this whole thing first.
I brought you live back up in the room, and I got to say, I love your tiger stripes.
Oh yeah, thank you a lot. This is a gift I got from a good friend from YouTube, someone who's he's a camouflage collector. Yep. And actually, we exchanged. I sent him down a set of Brazilian Army camouflage, and he sent me down a few other Vietnam.
Are you still collecting camouflage?
Oh yeah, sure.
Now, I'm going to break tradition here. I know you want to talk about the show and that, but I'm going to talk about you for a moment. You are a huge, and you're not old enough for it, but you are a big fan of the Vietnam War relics and Vietnam War stuff. And I know you have tattoos. You have a huge tattoo of that and other things that they can see on your website and other things like that. So, if you guys are interested, anybody collects that kind of stuff, and there's a good chance you can talk with Giuliano on good things that he's got. So he has most respect for Vietnam vets and other stuff, and he does a lot of collecting of the other goodies there he's got. Just to brag on him a little bit there. And he's into rock and roll music.
Yep.
And he's an all-around good guy, because for me, he knows about Motorhead, and he knows about Manowar, which is one of my favorite bands, which is not very popular in the United States, even though they are a United States band. They are huge over in Europe and other countries. Manowar, if you don't know, for rock and roll fans, holds the record for the loudest and the longest concert ever played. Yes, no rest till Hammerstein for my friends that come out of, for the guys that do with what the heck, it just went out of my brain.
Yeah, go on.
For the guys out of England, what do I say? Motorhead are my old favorites. Manowar is my new favorites. That's just who they are and how I got it stacked up that way. So, yeah, I'm losing my mind here thinking about 20 different things when it gets to rock and roll Anyway, so yeah, it can't be bad. He honors the Vietnam vets from down there, and he also is a huge heavy metal fan. So yeah, that's why Giuliano and I get along so well. Rich Young says he's a Vietnam vet. Thank you, Rich. Thank you for putting your time in there, buddy, and doing your stuff. Appreciate that. All right.
Actually, the thing about with Vietnam, people often ask me, why are you so interested in Vietnam? Why Vietnam? Like you said, I was born in '71. I'm 42, so I wasn't even born when the whole thing was going on. But for some reason, the Vietnam War, had been around for quite a while. In my family, the talks. My dad was in the military. He was in the army here in Brazil. Yeah. And there was a whole thing going on down here in Brazil with communism and all that. It's another discussion. I don't really want to get into that. But we had our little Vietnam going on here too, in a sense.
Yeah, but we grew up with that. I was born in '69 or '66. Yeah. Excuse me, '66.
Yeah, so that's right.
And we grew up with that stuff.
That's right. Either because of the movies, because of Hollywood, because of family discussions, because people actually talked about that. The subject was around.
And in '69. In '69 down there with you is when you guys started having your little skirmishes down there, should I say, or whatever. '69 was a big year for you guys down there.
The whole '60s were really, really intense when it comes to all that. Revolutionary and counter-revolution acts. Let's put it this way, if I can put it this way here, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's right. So. Back in the '90s when I started college, I met this guy. I immediately, the first second I looked at him, I knew he was something related to the Vietnam War, because typical looking American looks. He looks kind of James Hetfield, Metallica's vocalist. When he gets older, probably will look a lot like Professor Thomas Burns. That's his name. He was with the 82nd in Vietnam. Now he didn't actually take part in combat, because if I'm not wrong, the 82nd was responsible for protecting Saigon. So they pretty much did a good job, and they kept the place safe, or as safe.
Okay, we should be back in the chat room now. I don't know. Sometimes it goes a little funny that way. I don't know what the heck's going on. All right, so. Well, let's switch gears and get back to what you wanted to talk about. Instead of the Vietnam War and other stuff, let's go with your gear that you're carrying there, the things you're doing.
Yeah, just want to say that to finish the Vietnam War thing, I've done a lot of literature research on Vietnam veterans biographies, and I read a lot of what they wrote, in the '70s and in the '80s about the war. And I want to say that I respect you a lot, and you have my total respect and my admiration to you. I know, I have an idea of what kind of ordeal you had to go through, and I just feel sorry that people didn't get it back there in the '60s and '70s in the States. But you can bet that there are a lot of people out there in your country that also see and value your sacrifice for your country and for freedom, in a sense. So thank you from Brazil, because I do believe that America is responsible for a good degree of freedom we have in the world, regardless all the talks and everything. I appreciate what you've done for us. Thank you a lot. So now let's get back to the bush here in Brazil. This is the reason of this talk here. So yeah, people often ask me, what kind of gear do I need when I get down there to Brazil? I mean, can I make ground shelters? Can I use a survival knife? Do I need to have a machete? Is it like mandatory? What does it? How does it work? What kind of shelter do you need? And these are all common questions that I get when people are interested in what to bring down here to Brazil. So let's start with the number one gear that you should bear in mind whenever you think of coming down here, which is your blade. So I know that the axe and knives in general are the blades to go for if you are in Europe or in America or in some other parts of the world. But usually for tropical areas, I think it might not sound anything new for you, or it should not, because most people know that for tropical areas you actually need a machete, right? And why is that, Juliana? Why do you need a machete? I'm saying this as a general rule, okay? As a general rule, like I don't know if people saw last week's show. I said I was going to the bush on the following day. I couldn't go to the bush on the following day. I'm going tomorrow though, and the place where I'm going is Mata Atlântica, Atlantic Forest, and there are trails and areas in the forest that have been previously prepared where I camp. So I don't really need a machete to navigate, to the places where I'm planning to camp, because I know that I'm going down trails and there are these places prepared for me. But if for any reasons I decided to step off trail and go to whatever directions, I will have to do some machete work at some point. Depending on the area itself, I will have either heavy work to do, chopping and hacking through vines and underbrush and all kinds of stuff, or maybe just clearing down a tree here or there. It varies, it just varies. You cannot really predict how much work you're gonna do if you decided to step off trail. So the machete can pretty much help you with your most important survival concerns or aspects. Let's put it this way. I'm talking about making a shelter, making fire. If you can make a primitive fire by friction or with the sparks, you might be able to make fire with a machete. It will help you get some water. You can actually get water from water vines here. It should provide you, with some degree of water.
Well, I got a question for you.
Yeah, go on.
And this is important. If you're talking about this part where you said you might be able to start a fire with a machete, do you mean with a rock?
Yep, exactly. Quartz is.
Are you going to find a rock?
Yeah. Well, this is now. You have to understand again. This is serious talk here, because you have to understand where you are. And when I say that I can make fire with my machete in a rock, I'm talking about my area here down in central Minas, because this place is basically a gigantic piece of quartz. We have quartz everywhere. I don't really have to worry about finding me a piece of quartz on the ground that can easily strike sparks off carbon steel machete, which is what I usually carry down here on me. So then you say, what about like the charred cloth? Are you going to have cotton fabric on you all the time? No, but I don't have to. Again, if I have to depend on striking the sparks of a machete with quartz and burning the stuff to get charred cloth, I would be in a real extreme and bad situation, because I do not enter those areas relying on that primitive bushcraft technique to get my shelter and fire going, because right now it's raining, and I know from previous experiences, I know that I can dig some upper layer of roots that are right below the dry leaf layer, that are some very thin type of hair-like type of a root, that if you collect a whole bunch of those and stuff them inside a little can, you can actually carbonize them in a fire and use them for charcoal. So you don't really have to depend on cotton fabric to get your charcoal. So this is a way to actually get a very important aspect of quartz and a steel method of making fire, because it doesn't matter if you have the quartz and the steel if you can't get the tinder. So in this case, you can actually prepare your charred material. But right now, the ground is soaked in water and it's wet. It's been raining for like days. Am I gonna, get there and start making fires and burning the stuff from the? No way. No way. If I will get to the fire point, but I don't want to get too much into that aspect right now, because I still want to focus on the blades. So this, I can make fire with just to answer the dude's the dude's question. Yes, I can make fire with the machete and a rock, a piece of quartz that I will collect from the ground, but I cannot rely on all the components at the spirit of the year to make fire. Because even if I have the dry chalk cloth, let's say cotton chalk cloth, if it's still difficult to find dry tinder that I can, put make my bird's nest and start the fire. And even though I have the dry bird's nest, I still have to struggle to get me the first very thin pieces of material to start, growing my fire. So it's not an easy job. It's not something that you can rely upon, even though you know how it works. You've done it before. Because at this time of the year, people, you have to understand one thing: water and fire don't go together in any part of this planet. If you are listening to me and you are on planet Earth, forget about it. If you don't have unless you're very lucky and you find, a piece of wood which is being for some reason sheltered from the rain and the element, well, you're a very lucky guy. But don't rely on that. Have modern means to make fire. I'll get to that. Get to fire. Soon enough. Just let me finish about the blades, because they are, actually a very important aspect of your survival down here in Brazil. So the machete is your number one tool, because with the machete you can actually make a lot of things down here when it comes to fire, water, and even shelter, which is your number one priority. Again, bear in mind that you are a human being, the same as I am down here in Brazil, and it doesn't matter if I drink coconut water and if you drink Coca-Cola, we still need basically the same things. We have the same basic needs. We need shelter, we need body thermal regulation for our bodies. We have to regulate our body core temperature. That's what I'm saying. And we need food, we need water, we need to rest. That goes for any Homo sapiens, which is who's listening to me right now. You know what I'm saying? So one thing that can kill you down here in Brazil is hypothermia. Juliano, you are nuts, man. This is a tropical country. You are almost in the summer now. It is hot already there. Yeah, but I don't know if you know it. Hypothermia, statistically speaking, most of the cases of death by hypothermia happen in temperatures between 0 degrees to 10 degrees Celsius. Now, Rich, if you can help me with this one here, because I'm really bad at converting Celsius to Fahrenheit and vice versa. Do you know how much that is?
Degrees, 30, 10 degrees.
This is not like freezing, everything you are talking about, icy conditions everywhere. And let me tell you something that you might not know. I myself have suffered of hypothermia in the summer here in Brazil at 4 p.m. All right, in the summer at 4 p.m. How can this be possible, Julian? Are you nuts? No. I was in the rain, actually. I was on the top of a sierra, and the wind was blowing so hard and the rain was so cold. You wouldn't believe it. You wouldn't believe it. It was difficult for me to actually move my fingers and finish my shelter and the knots and do the stuff that I was actually working on. And if I didn't have in my backpack, a new set, a dry set of gloves, protect from the rain, from the water, in plastic bags, I would be in trouble, because in that very same area where I was, a man had died in the previous year in the summer under the very same conditions, because he got lost as it started raining. The fog and the mist became very bad, and he got lost. He lost the trail, and it got dark. His clothes were drenched in water. The wind was blowing on him really bad. He tried to find shelter under some rocks, which unfortunately didn't work for him, and he died. They found his body on the following days. it happened on the very same area, in the very same area where it was, under very similar, basically the very same conditions I was going there. And I went through that experience myself of being hypothermic in the summer in Brazil at 4 p.m. during the day. So it's not impossible. You will be facing that kind of threat, that kind of danger here. So shelter is a number one, is a top priority for you. And with a machete in the jungle, you can actually make shelter. It can actually help you make a very good shelter.
Right.
Several types of shelter. I remember just one thing. I remember a few years back, I was watching a Discovery Channel documentary of this American couple that got lost in the Amazon forest, and they actually struggled in the jungle for like 6 days until they finally were spotted by a man in a little canoe, and by miracle they were saved. And I remember them saying that the guy saying that one of the coldest experiences he had ever had was one night that they had to spend in the rain in the jungle, and they had no shelter, no raincoat, just the jeans and clothes, normal clothes that people usually have, that cannot afford protection, cannot offer protection for the rain. And he said that it was the coldest experience that he had ever had in his life. And so he wasn't talking about, an experience that he had back in the Rocky Mountains in Alaska or in any other cold areas present in the States. He was talking about a tropical environment, things that happen in tropical. And most of you want to it's always like a coconut island, sunny, and that kind of stuff. No, people. The rain storms here, they are really bad. They can get pretty nasty. Temperature can go crazy. You have no protection from the wind. Your clothes are wet. You will be in trouble. You will be in trouble. That's the way it goes down here. So a machete can pretty much help you with shelter, which is very important. Now you say, wear a survival knife. Well, on the picture that Rich just showed a few minutes ago, I was actually, with a Brazilian survival knife, one of these big Bowie-looking knives. Mac used to call that knife a death from above knife. I love that because that's a good definition. Well, these big bulky blades, they can do some chopping. They can help you make bush shelters. My Pathfind bush bed was totally built with that very same knife. Can you please, Rich, show them the other picture I sent you down, which is actually the bush shelter? You showed the picture already.
With the shelter, the first one you had, the bush bed.
Yeah, the bush bed, please.
All right. That should be up in just a second.
All right. Nope, not that one.
There you go. I'm getting there.
Okay. Oh yeah, thank you. Okay, so people can see that shelter was totally built with the same knife as the previous picture, which is the one I'm holding down there, tipped down, and did the job as well as a machete would have done it. And actually, because it was bulkier, had more mass and weight to it, it worked like little hatchet. So what do you say? I always mess up with the pronunciation of little X. You say hatched or hatch? Rich, I'm sorry.
The what?
Yeah, you got to be an English teacher here now.
Hack?
No, how do you pronounce the little X? Hatched or hatch? I always mess up.
What, a
with
hatchet?
Yeah, hatchet. Thank you.
Hatchet?
That's it.
Okay.
Mac has told me 1 billion times and I'll never get it. Hatchet. All right.
There you go.
That knife works pretty much as a little hatchet. And because of the mass and the weight and all that, so it will help you with this bulkier tasks. But as most of big knives, they don't work too well when it comes to minor detailed carving and these types of slicing cuts that you have to do. They just don't work too well because of the size of the blade. They feel too bulky and too weird in your hand. So but anyway, that's one of the knives we got here. They yeah, they can work out. They will do the job to a degree, pretty much as the machete though has some other advantages, which is the length, right? Now, to certain areas here in Brazil, like the Amazon or Pantanal, you will have to use at least an 18-inch machete, at least an 18-inch machete or a 20-inch machete. People actually, and I have heard, I myself have never seen anybody carrying a 20-inch machete in the bush, because where I am, it's not necessary. A 16-inch will do the job pretty well, or 14-inch too. But I know that people that carry 20-inch machetes in the bush, they don't even have a sheath for those machetes. What they do is they go and they cut down like a section of like a rose, like a garden rose, you know, or no, not
hose.
Hose. Yeah, man, thank you. A hose. They cut a section of a hose and they split it in like a part of it open, so it will become like a C. And they put the machete with the edge face, yeah.
With the blade stuck in the hose, so they don't cut into their leg, and they just carry it around, stick it in their pants or whatever else.
That's what they do. And whenever they have to, they stop using the machetes. They just rest the machete with the edge facing down the tree, so it should avoid prevent accidents, and it should avoid any kind of problems with people getting, having bad slashes and cuts with the blades. So machetes are the number one things to have down here in Brazil. Mac, I really have to, there is no way I will talk about machetes and not say what Mac actually introduced down here to us, because he came up with these modifications to the regular machete, which it really did enhance the performance of the machete. Everybody in the country knows machetes. We use machetes. In the Caatinga we use machetes. Down in the Cerrado, Pantanal, everywhere. They are the tool to go for. However, we use them for cutting brush and trees and branches and vines and clearing down.
And opening coconuts.
And opening coconuts too. But I never really thought of the machete as capable of doing like carved work, like a detailed carving work, for example. Certain types of carving work, of course. But it is capable of doing that after Mac actually changed the inferior portion of the machete, pretty much like putting the edge there, making a scanty edge. In the very
narrowed down the blade. He scanned the edge of the blade, made it sharper, made it more steep on the edge to cut in more. The flat spot on the back for striking the ferro rod and for scraping.
Exactly, scraping and striking the ferro rod. And he actually changed the main portion of the edge. He put the convex edge there because it takes more abuse and it's actually easier to deal with. And actually improved the use of the machete so much that everybody was just, how could an American figure this out? And this is one question that I actually got from people out there on YouTube. Say, Giuliano, you are from a tropical area. How is it that an American was the one to figure out those laws and everything? I say, I don't know. Ask him, because it was like a very smart thing to do. He told me the story many times, and I would like for him to be right here, right now, to tell us the story. But he actually told me that he had this old machete, which he had been using, and then he decided to go for new machetes. After he bought the new machetes, he found himself going back to the old one, and he was like, why am I going back to the old ones? Because if I have all these new ones. And then he had a good look at the machete and what had happened, and he noticed that those modifications had naturally been added to the machete, even though he didn't, he wasn't kind of aware, no, I want this to be like this because I'm doing exactly this, and it's going to be a whole system. He didn't think of it as a whole system. He thought of a step-by-step modification that became necessary for the things that he was doing, and he came. It happened that he came up with a very great system.
Well, you got about 15 minutes left. You want to get to the actual pictures of your what do you call it? What do I want to say here? Your actual kits, the different things you have.
Yeah, you can skip to those pictures, please. Let's see those pictures.
Now you've got here.
That's my bushcraft. That's one of my bushcraft. That's
Sorry.
okay. That one over there. Yeah, that picture shows some of my bushcraft gear. You have some coconut containers, some bamboo containers, and the bow drill.
Well, let's start on the right hand side. You've got your bow. It looks like for your bow drill.
Yeah, that's right. I got the bow and the harp and the
Okay.
spindles. All of them.
I see those. Now right inside the bow, I know what those are. Those are paste beads, but those paste beads are what?
They are like made out of the seed, like a little coconut seed, a coconut tree that we have in our property, and those were collected at the same spot where I shot the video, where I took that picture actually. And like I said, that's more like it was the dry season, which is July. It doesn't rain, so I can play with primitive fire, no problems. Everything, it's easy to get a dry tinder bundle, make your bird's nest, and get dry tinder. It's no sweat.
What is the bamboo? I guess it's a bamboo piece over on the far left, wrapped with cordage. Is that a fishing kit or what is that?
No, that's not cordage. That's actually a piece of rubber.
Okay.
Rich, I have to apologize because I don't remember exactly what I had stuffed inside that container, because that's an old picture. I think a 2009 picture. So I'm always changing especially my bushcraft kits, always making new gear, always improving things, and I don't even know what it was. No, Rich, I'm sorry. I already know what it is. It looks like a piece of bamboo on the far left, upper left, but it is not bamboo. Now I know I have identified what it is. Those are actually sandpaper sheets that were rolled and were wrapped together with a piece of rubber, because that's one of my sharpening systems. One of my sharpening systems that I use. I'm sorry, because the picture was small, I didn't recognize it. Actually, the piece of bamboo is smaller and down below the left part of the picture. It's a little cup.
Right.
The little handle. So that's the piece of bamboo over there. So yeah, people, that's so cool. You can make like the mattress, the palm leaf mattress. It is all very nice and all very cool. You can play Indian and everything. But unless you were actually born in one of those tribes, or you lived a life, in the middle of the forest, where your family actually depended and relied upon the knowledge of the forest to get by and survive, you are not going to play Indian. You're not going to play Tarzan down here in Brazil. Forget it. I live in Brazil. There is Indian bushcraft here that there is knowledge that these Indians have that they don't share with anybody. People will not, outside from their tribes, will never have access to that knowledge, and that's just the way it is. So, Julian, what kind of bushcraft do you do down there? Well, I tend to look at bushcraft as a general set of skills. I don't care if they were necessarily born here in Brazil. If I can apply them here in Brazil, that goes for me. For example, the bow drill method that I do here is the same as you guys probably do out there in the States and in Europe and everywhere else. Whereas what the Indians do here is different, and I cannot do what they do here. This is one thing that I can learn.
I changed the picture. You put that knife in there just to make me mad. I know what you did.
No, man, I will. Don't worry, I will.
The reason I say that, people, is because that's Giuliano. That knife you see there with a black handle in the middle of this picture is actually made right there in Brazil, and we cannot mail it between the United States and Brazil back and forth to each other. That's really bad. But it is a nice high carbon steel blade. Very nice knife. Now you carry. Now see, that's something people don't talk about. You carry a folding knife.
Yeah, because actually, again, you have touched a very important aspect here. Let me say why. When we're talking about tools for you guys out there in the States, what do you need? Let's say two blades. If you have to take two blades on you, either, or let's say if you are in Europe, if you have two blades to take on you, let me answer that question. Excuse me. Let me be a little bit arrogant here and answer that question for you. You will probably take an axe and some type of knife, either a small, some type of a fixed blades. Those are the main tools for your northern hemisphere part of the planet.
Right.
Now, for us down here, we need machetes, as we have already discussed. They are the thing to go for, but we still need small blades to do the tasks and the small cuts and the little camp tasks, which you will not be swinging a machete. You don't have to be.
You mean you're not going to cut your dinner up with your machete?
I'm sorry?
You're not going to cut your bacon up with a machete to eat your bacon? Come on now.
Yeah, no way. You're not going to use a machete to slice bacon, you know.
Come on now. You eat with that too, right now. You know, people need to understand that. You know, there are different. There is no. Dang it. Are we still in the room? Yeah, we're still in the room. People need to understand there are no specific knife that does everything.
Yep, that's right.
Can
you see back there?
We're okay.
All right, okay. So what I'm saying is, yeah, you need like a small blade to go with you too, man. You need that little folder. If you don't have to have a fixed blade. It is good to have one if you do. But if you carry like a machete end, like a small folding knife, like those Zebu folders, which are very popular here. Down here we call them pica-fumus, which are smoke choppers, because the old people here, they used to slice those big cords made out of tobacco and to chop them to roll their cigarettes, and that's what they call them here, the pica-fumus, traditional ones. So if you have like one of those in a machete, man, you pretty much got all of your cutting tasks covered up down here to Brazil, unless you want to knock down trees. Like we got some big trees here, and then you actually need an axe or one of those, modern tools to knock down.
Chainsaw thing or something.
Chainsaw, yeah, pretty much. Yeah, thank you. A chainsaw. But if you are just navigating and cutting your way through the jungle and doing your camp tasks, a machete and a small blade, either a small knife or a folder, is all you actually need. Now, I carry a survival knife. We have survival knives, but the survival knife in my scenario is the kind of blade that, at least for me, it stays there as a backup tool.
Right.
You will not see me slicing bacon with a survival knife, although I can do that. You will not see me making triggers with a survival knife, although I can do that if I only have that knife. You will not see me chopping down vines and wood with a survival knife. If I got like a machete, an axe, or smaller blades for the other tasks, because it's just too bulky for. But if I have nothing, if I lose my backpack, if I lose my machete, I got nothing else, that knife should be on my belt all the time. And with that knife, I should be able to take care of those tasks to a degree of effectiveness, right? Of course, this is the let's say the position that a survival knife should place itself. But yeah, I think we have.
Here's a very important question. What do you mean by survival knife? And as he just said, the knife he carries for his backup knife, his other knife that he carries with him for survival. And basically, it's the knife he has on him. And if it's the knife he carries when he carries out, and if worse comes to worse, your survival knife is the knife you have on you when the moment needs to survive.
That's right.
And so save that blade, and use your other ones. Use your folder, use your machete until you absolutely have to use that survival knife, and then it's always sharp and ready to go.
That's what I do. That's the concept. The survival knife for me is a backup tool here, which will always be there on me, on my hip, So if I really need it, I know it is there. But the tools I go for are the machetes and the smaller blades, the other blades.
Right.
Uh,
But I know for a while you were testing different survival knives.
oh yeah.
You had the BK2 you tested. You've had other knives. You've had knives made for you down there that you do.
Yep.
I mean, you as part of the school, you guys actually make a knife before you go into the bush and take that knife with them.
That's
But
right.
they still take the machetes and the other things with them, and so it's like you said, the survival knife is a backup knife.
Rich, yeah, we have to understand one thing, and this is serious talk here. This is actually a talk for another whole show.
Right.
People say, oh, knives, 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 metal knives. We have been using metal. And now, everybody, listen up. We have been using metal as a species for only 5,300 years, according to science.
Right.
So I don't want to get into all the discussions here. I'm saying what science says. 5,300 years. Otzi, actually, the Mumi showed us that the copper axe had been around much earlier than the scientists had originally figured out. Now, check this out. As Homo sapiens or species here, science says that we are on this planet for 200,000 years, my friends.
Right.
200,000 years. That's a very long time. Just think of Jesus. Jesus was here on the planet 2,000 years ago, and see how different his world was and how much things have changed in only 2,000 years. Now try to figure out what 200,000 years actually means in all this history when we actually didn't have metal blades. How did we get by with a flint, with flakes of rock, of obsidian, of I don't know, pieces
Sharp sticks, beating it on something, cracking it open.
Exactly. We had axes made out of rocks, and we knew how to use rocks because all that we needed were sharpened tools that could do the job.
And we still use that. I mean, we still have people down in Brazil who are doing it. We still have people in Papua New Guinea who are living that way. And they actually pass some of those stone tools down from generation to generation as long as they continue working.
Exactly. Now, the reason why I'm saying all this is it's because of the guy's question. What is a survival knife? What's the best survival knife? And the best survival knife is the one which is sharpened and which is at hand when in a survival situation. It should be the one you carry on your hip. That should be your chosen survival knife, which is most likely to be on you if you ever face a situation when you had to rely solely upon that blade.
My buddy Willie left here already, but he was the man who made a saying up that said, "It sure beats using your finger." What's your survival knife? Anything that beats using your finger.
Exactly. So that's the point. He made the point there because what I'm trying to say here is you got to learn how to use a sharpened blade. People got by in the jungle with sharpened piece of bamboo for knives, sharpened piece of bones, flake rocks, and whatever they could use for slicing and doing the job. That's what a knife was. So what people should bear in their minds is they should learn how to use knives in general. Big blades, smaller blades. Get your wife's kitchen knife and take it to the bush one day. See what you can do with it. See how far you can get by with it in your area. See, what a little pocket knife, how it works. Learn how to do things. Take Cody Lundin, for example.
In between shows. So we'll get through this night, and I'll put these shows together. And I hate that for you guys. So yes, the best knife to have on you is the one you have on you in the survival situation. If you don't have a good knife on you, well, guess what? Then you're in trouble when it comes to a survival situation.
Yeah,
carrying your stuff down there that you carry the same as what we carry. We have to do the same things no matter where in the world we are. You have to take care of your core temperature. You have to find food. You have to find water. And you know what? Fire is a great thing because it drives the boogeyman away. It heats your food. It boils your water. And so if you say, Juliana, what do you carry down there that I carry up here? Well, it's probably the same stuff. It's just a little bit different in maybe the weight or the material it's made out of or you know, I may carry something heavier here because it's cold. He may carry something lighter down there when it's warm. But then if you go up on the mountain, you're in the cold just as much as I am, buddy.
Yeah, let me tell you something which I think pretty much answers that question for anybody. Take Otzi the Mumi as an example. We're talking about a guy that lived 5,300 years ago, and he, you know, was preserved with his gear. And when we look at his gear and see what he could accomplish with that gear, we see that he was trying to do pretty much the same as we do nowadays with the modern gear that we have. And for every piece of gear that he had, we have a modern equivalent. So it shouldn't be a surprise that my gear down here in Brazil is not so different from the gear that anybody else carries in other parts of the world, because we are talking about the same guy. It's the same person, whereas you're down here in Brazil, up there in Europe, or 5,300 years ago somewhere else in the world, in the jungle or in the mountains. It's the same human being over there. So we need to accomplish the same tasks in order to keep this body working, and, you know, regulating body core temperature, yada yada, is what we got to do. So you need, you know, like a heavy tool to chop down wood to make fire, build a shelter. If you're using a machete or an axe, I don't care. You have to adjust the tools for the area where you are. You will probably need a smaller blade to do your animals, to slice your food, scan your game, whatever smaller tasks you have to perform. And that's the way it goes. So that's it. That's pretty much it. We can talk about it next week, people. We are running out of time here. Next week we'll keep this discussion. I want to thank you so much for taking part in our group here, in our discussion here tonight. Thank you a lot, Rich.
Wonderful job as always, and don't worry about, you're doing great with your English.
All
and
right.
I'm sure you'll be teaching much better. The more you talk, the more you're going to teach. Now, I would like to see, and I promise you, man, I'm going to have this player fixed here this weekend. I would like to see a show in Portuguese coming over also for our friends down there, because we have been getting thousands and thousands of hits from Brazil. And it's just, actually, Brazil has moved up to the top country watching Around the Cabin, and we are over 1 million hits once again this month. We have 2,000 websites referring people to us, and 1,028 websites. Last time I looked, although it was growing, 1,028 websites sharing what goes on here around the cabin with other websites.
Awesome. Can you tell how many of them are Brazilian ones?
I do not know. No, it just tells me how many websites are doing it. It doesn't say who is doing it.
This is awesome. I am pretty sure that as soon as we can come up with a Portuguese show, the numbers will increase too, because a lot of people in Brazil are just waiting for the show.
And we are getting more shows coming on here in December. And in December we will be doing our Christmas giveaways, and we've got some goodies lined up. Good. So we'll be shipping them out. Of course, you guys down in Brazil may have to wait till January to get anything, because you know how that goes. Last time I sent you something, it took a month to go through customs, my friend.
Oh yeah, man! Don't mention that. It takes forever. It takes forever, man.
All right, brother. I appreciate it. You have a good one. I hope you had a good Thanksgiving down that way, although I know you don't celebrate too much of it down there. But I hope you guys
enjoy seeing your recipes and your dishes there. I surely do, man. That chicken with bacon just looked awesome, terrific. Almost killed me down here, brother.
All right. Well, you eat bigger bacon than I do, man. I'm jealous of the bacon down there.
But I'm on a diet now, so I'm really low on fat and all that. So I'm not even taking bacon to the bush tomorrow.
Oh, shame on you! Shame on you! Yeah.
No. I'm putting. I'm doing good. I'm doing a good job here. I'll be in a better shape.
Yeah. So there you go. Well, I'm in round. That's a shape. Round's a shape.
All right.
All right, Juliana, my friend, you have a good one. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We're going to close this off, and I'll bring Doc in, and we'll have the off-grid cabin with Doc going on. So, all right, we'll be right back.
Thank you. Hello, Doc. Bye-bye.